Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to IK Tech Talks. This is Ryan with IK. And if you're not familiar, Tech Talks is one piece of a daily live streaming series from IK Multimedia, where we go over tips and tricks for your different IK gear. We'll be opening up the conversation to the most important part of IK, the users, you guys. And at the end of our episode, we're going to be giving, we're going to be showing our appreciation by giving away an excellent piece of software relative to the stream. So this week's stream, as you can see, we're going over SampleTank 4 and how to use all the different functionalities and tools in your DAW. And at the end of the episode, we're going to be giving away a copy of SampleTank 4. So make sure to stay tuned. That's a $299 value just for watching a quick episode. Cool. So let's go ahead and we'll get started here. All right. Cool. So, I see some people interested in a T-Rex live stream. Awesome. No, yeah, that would be great. I'll definitely I'll incorporate a little bit of T-Rex here today, and I'll see what I can show you guys. It's a pretty big program, so it's going to be broken up into a little bit of segmentation. So let's go ahead and get started with the track. I'm going to show you guys what exactly I created here, and then we're going to go over how exactly I was able to put all of this together. Okay, cool. So that was a little bit of an example. I'm not going to play the whole thing just yet. Let's go over how I created this. So at first, what you're going to have here is a couple of different tracks. If you look at the right side of my screen, mainly going to be working with MIDI tracks today. And the first MIDI track that I have is SampleTank 4. It is disabled for this video just so I can show you guys all the different features and not worry about anything going wrong here, because I am streaming from the exact same system that I'm running the DAW from, which is really cool. It's a little bit taxing, but it's awesome that I'm able to do that. So let's go ahead and get started here. If you notice, I inserted SampleTank 4, and the second I've done that, here, let's close these. The second I've done that, I've opened up the option of routing to SampleTank 4 on my other MIDI tracks. And you can see I have a couple different MIDI clips here. I have piano, pad, sub, drums 1, guitar 1. And what those are doing is they're sending out to SampleTank the brain. That's what I like to do when I use this thing. And then I'll have track 1 straight to my warm grand piano here. You can see the MIDI channel will correlate to this little section over here in your DAW, and that's how I've routed absolutely everything to my track. So I'm going to give you guys one quick example of how I did that. I'm going to start by creating a MIDI track, and you're going to see there's no output by default. You select SampleTank 4, the brain, and then you can pick any channel to route into, 1 through 16. You can create an entire orchestra with just one instance of SampleTank 4. It'll save you some processing power, and it's nice and easy to set up. Let's go ahead and delete that. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and jump into a little bit more of an explanation of this page right here. You can see I have my MIDI channels, I have transpose controls, I have solo and mute, and I have the player loop section. All right, so all of this is going to come into play as I'm going through the video, and it's specifically here I have my mixer page for my warm grand, and somebody asked about how you can lower CPU usage. I remove all of the different effects, especially the ones that I don't know what they're doing, or if I'm not sure that I really like what they're doing. Usually the presets sound great, they sound excellent, but it all depends on the song. You never know what you're going to need. So for here, I've made myself a little preset in SampleTank 3, just called empty, and I clear out the track channel really quick. And it helps me kind of organize my thoughts and move forward without worrying too much about processing power. All right, so let's go ahead and I'll take a deeper look into what I did for this. We'll start from the top on the piano section. So let's go here. you're going to see I don't have too much on the actual warm grand piano. I'm just playing some MIDI notes. And I've kind of just written it out manually, kind of how you would expect a real piano player to be playing this. I'll go ahead and solo the track for you so you can hear exactly what's going on. So you can hear just a little example of that, and you see I'm bouncing off the bottom strings of the piano here for the bass notes and kind of just following along with a little bit of melody on top. You can see I've got a little millisecond delay from my top notes, kind of to give a strumming kind of effect there, and I've written in my MIDI velocity here to give some syncopation. You know, it starts on 1, it dies down a little bit, and it comes back kind of like a wheel, and I've just got some basic CC messages here. I'm just telling the sustain to constantly stay on, which for me, I'm not the biggest piano player, so I'm sure a piano player might have a little bit more of a tip to do turning this on and off and using it a little bit more majestically. But personally, I think this sounds great. I'm going to play that back for you guys one more time. Sorry about that, my internet connection. All right, so you can hear exactly what I'm doing here, and it's just some basic MIDI work. If you're not familiar with writing MIDI, there is an awesome section called the patterns page, which will let you load any kind of MIDI patterns, and it's a really intuitive tool. I didn't touch on it too much this episode, but if you go to your Fraser, sorry, I said pattern page. It's the Fraser page under the this guy right here, which is going to be our groove players, right? So you have all of these different MIDI files. You can load them to your different notes. You can change the intensity, humanization, and the swing of each one, trigger them at different times. This is really cool for, I've used this on the drums today. I'll show you that in a little bit. But this is a nice, easy page if you don't know how to write MIDI. So it gets you started without knowing too much. So let's go to the second page. And if you notice, I've just taken my bass notes and made a quick pad. The main focus here is CC control. And what I'm doing there is I have MIDI controller CC14. I've written in this a little bit of a weird control section. And what that's doing is controlling my filter C here. And the way that you do that is you right click and you select Midi Learn. The second you select Midi Learn, it's going to let you move your controller on whatever it is, a mod wheel, a knob, fader, a button, and just quickly control that function. So as long as your MIDI is routed properly here to the right channel, it should work great. And you see this is coming into a MIDI clip, so it's all right. Once you have it assigned, what I've done here is a little unique, is I've set my min and max values to give more of a life to that pad sound in the background. So I'm going to solo that and let you guys hear it. And just so you know, this is what's going on. I'm modulating the filter frequency and the resonance just a little bit with this control. And if you're just tuning in now, we are going over SampleTank 4, and we will be giving a copy away at the end of the episode. So make sure to stay tuned, like, and subscribe. All right, let's go ahead and play this back. Here, sorry about that. I'm just going to turn off some of my effects on my drums. Save myself some processing power here. And if you're not on the most powerful system, which I'm not right now, you'll see that I've frozen this track, and you can do that with whichever DAW you're using. So let's go ahead and play back this pad. So very basic, very in the background, but when you play with the piano, it sounds really great together. And if you've noticed, there's a little bit of equalization on this track and some compression and EQ on this track as well. That's just kind of tying these two guys together. So you can hear there's a little bit of movement in the background because of that pad, which is really cool. So next, let's go ahead. We'll dive into the sub sound. And what I've done for the sub is very similar to the pad. You can see they almost match exactly if it's not exact. There's not too much modulation going on, but let's go ahead and pull it up. Okay. And if you notice, we have, it's called Angel's Noise. It's got the ensemble effect, which is a really cool effect. If you're not familiar with SampleTank 4, these are derived from our modeling in Amplitude and T-Rax, and they sound really good, really authentic. You honestly don't need to reach for outboard gear. I've only kind of done that for the example, and I think I might do another video using this session with some T-Rax modules just to really give you guys a full scope of what's going on. So if you look here, we have Angel Noise, which is our pad, and then we have Subsine. If you noticed in this page, I have Saturator X, SVT Classic, and some flanger going on just to give it some life. If you're familiar with the SVT, it's based off like an Ampeg. So it gives it some nice deep low end, a little bit of highs. I've pretty much sucked that out on the actual channel. That's my MIDI channel. Right here, you can see there is an equalizer. Let me pull it up. You can see I've sucked out a lot of the highs just to let it sit in the mix a little bit better. And I've set a compressor that's going to just let it react to the kick drum with the sidechain right there. That's an Ableton Live thing. But if you guys are familiar with our stuff, we do give away Ableton Live Lite with a couple of our controllers. So if you are getting started with SampleTank 4 or you don't have anything, it's a good place to start. iRig Keys IO is an audio interface MIDI controller. It's literally everything you need in one. But all right, enough of that salesy talk. Let's go ahead and move on and play back that bass sound. For those of you who are not using headphones, you might not hear too much here, but I'll just give you the example. So you can hear that's super low. If you guys don't have a sub or anything and you're listening through the speakers of your device, you might not have heard much at all. But it gives it a nice little bit of life in the background. Can you create something like rolling hi-hats? Yes, in SampleTank 4. Personally, what I like to do that is the Arpeggiator. I can get into that a little bit later when I touch into that subject. But I see another question here. What version am I reviewing? We're actually going over the main SampleTank 4 program just in general. I'm not too focused on the sounds because if you're a SampleTank 4 SE user, CS user, or even a Max user, you're going to be able to use all these same functions to really, create something unique all from scratch. Like this session right here is all made with IK programs. Just a couple of MIDI tracks, SampleTank 4, and a couple of T-Rax and Amplitude plugins just to polish it off. So cool. Let's go ahead and we'll jump into my next one, which is going to be the LA Confidential kit. So if you notice here, this is where you pick your sounds. And if you select a sound, you're going to see what library it's from. You can organize your sounds here. If you notice, I don't store mine by the icons, which is a new thing, but you can have those pop up. I have a custom library right here. If you don't know about the SampleTank 4 editor, look it up. It's definitely worth it. If you have, like I do, libraries on libraries of waves and different samples, you can utilize them in SampleTank 4 in a whole new way. Cool. So let's go ahead. I'll jump into that LA Confidential kit. You can click here to select the part. And we're going to go to the play page. You can see that it's the Dude Stereo. That's what the ST stands for. 78 BPM. So as close as I can get. And inside here, you're going to see what the different keys are going to trigger in SampleTank 4. You can see these are the only keys that trigger stuff, and they're all assigned here. This is the engine being used, and these are some controls, which are very unique when controlling or when trying to fit a sample to a song. They're very useful. It lets you get a lot with just a couple of different sounds. You have a different waveform view here, which is kind of cool. And I've synced these to my DAW. So let's go ahead and I'm going to play those drums. Now this, I believe, has no effects on it. So you can hear that's a quick, easy drum beat, and I've just pulled out a couple of these to add some fills in the middle. You can see where I've triggered it. And with the loop manager, what I like to do, I'm not sure if you guys are too used to using loops, but I've printed my loops here into audio, and I'm going to go over that in a little bit, just so I could chop them up and place them exactly where I want them. They're going to sound exactly how I imagine them in my head. That's the easiest way for me. The loop manager does make it nice and easy. You could see that I do have these different notes changing throughout the song. So let's go ahead. I'm going to open SampleTank 4 up one more time, and I'm going to scroll down. And you notice on my drums, I have no effects here. If I select my drum track, I do have a couple of effects. And let's just go ahead, solo that track and play it back. Here, sorry about that. Let's avoid those for now, but I can show you guys, if you are a live user, if you right click here, you can freeze the track. It will save you a lot of processing power. If you're not familiar with bouncing tracks, it is very useful. I like the fact that it helps me avoid option paralysis, which, you know, if you have too many things to pull and too many things to pick from, sometimes you get stuck and you don't make anything at all. So let's actually move on to the next thing, the red strat, which is one of my favorite sounds in SampleTank 4. It's one of the biggest sounds. If you can see, the sound sizes are right here. And if you are having any troubles with CPU, you can go to the cogwheel settings here and change your streaming settings. I have a slightly fast SSD, so I am able to utilize that here. And I usually load a lot of sounds, so I set this to the largest buffer. So you mess around, see what fits best for your system here, and that'll definitely help you guys. If you have a MIDI controller, you can set it to browse parts, sounds, or load a selected sound here. And the info page is great for if you need to contact support or check your latest version. It's going to tell you the build number and the actual version to check against the user area My Products. And your sound content tab, which you guys shouldn't need to mess around too much with, but you can have multiple paths. You should always store your SampleTank 3 and SampleTank 4 paths separately. We have a couple of different FAQs that explain exactly what those are about and how those work. But this is a great new section addition to SampleTank. Cool. So let's go ahead and close that out. All right. So before I jumped into this guitar, I see another good question. Is it possible to learn how it works with MIDI controllers? So I'm actually giving you a couple of examples here how this would work with a MIDI controller, but I've already recorded the MIDI. So if you were to have a MIDI controller plugged in here, instead of having a track, you would just press the record arm button, which would allow your signal, your MIDI signal, to transmit into the track and become recorded, or also play it back for you in real time if you have auto selected. If you put the input selection here, this is going to allow you to play in real time, but it's not going to record your signal. So it would be the exact same setup as a MIDI controller. You set your input here. You can see I have a bunch of different MIDI controllers if I wanted to limit myself there to the computer keyboard, to whatever's connected to my Axe IO or my iRig Pro Duo IO. And then you could send it out to SampleTank. And remember, these channels right here directly correlate to this page and its MIDI channel. So if you want to send one track to multiple instruments, or if you want to send one instrument with multiple MIDI tracks just to keep things organized, it's all possible. Super easy to do. Really depends on the DAW, on the specific steps, but it's nice and intuitive. You know, we're thinking about it just how you would be as a musician. We try to make everything faders and graphically, in your face. You know exactly what's going on. So let's go to the most interesting part of this track, and that's the Strummer. If you guys are not familiar with the Strummer, it's one of the coolest parts of SampleTank 4. And if you're just tuning in now, we are giving away a copy of SampleTank 4, the standard version, which is a $299 value at the end of this episode. So make sure to stay tuned to the very end to win, to get your chance to win. And so let's take a look at this MIDI file. So you can see my MIDI notes here, and it sounds like a super thought out guitar part. Sorry about that. But really, I've only played a couple of notes. And you can see as it goes across, C4, D2, and C2. Now I'm going to play you that guitar part. And to me, it's really hard to even notice that it's MIDI. You're going to see that C4 is going to be a down strum. This is going to be a pattern playback. This is going to be an up strum. Sorry, this is a double downstroke, and this is the play button. And then you have the 6 individual strings. So first, I'm only implementing these to strum the chord that I've selected. So C2 and D2. So I'm switching between A major, position 2, and D major, 7, position 2. So let's go ahead and just play that guitar part. Here, sorry, I'm hearing a little bit of crackling here. Let me disable a couple more plugins for you guys. Like I said, I am streaming from the same system that I'm using to broadcast to you guys today, which is really cool that I'm able to do that. It is a little taxing on your system. Usually when you see people broadcasting, they have a separate computer. I'm working on that setup now, just waiting on a couple things from Amazon, as I'm sure you guys are going crazy at home, seeing the same thing. So let's go ahead and play that guitar part one more time. So you can hear that down strum part, super realistic. I've controlled the time down, so it's a super long strum. I kind of wanted to mimic something, you know, Pink Floyd-y, spacey. And in the second part, I've added a couple of different strings. And if you're not familiar with how the guitar voicings work, they're very, very unique, and it's very cool that you can trigger them all here, whichever chord you select. Like I was saying earlier with the Phrasor, if you're not familiar with writing MIDI, this is a tool that will help you learn your music theory super quick and easy. Experiment with different chords that you might not pull immediately on your own, and use them all quick to write something really great. I found this to be a nice little chord set that I found on my guitar, and then I just took it and threw it into SampleTank afterwards. So all of this was generated just by playing a couple chords on my Strat, not even plugged into an amp. And then I've just translated it to the computer. So let's go ahead and play that second section so you can hear how this works. So you can see what sounds like a unique, or sorry, not unique, what sounds like a complex performance is just a couple of quick notes. The most important part is really the groove between these notes. And if you notice, I have some millisecond delay that I've manually put on the track, and the velocity control is really where the magic lies. It's only a couple of clicks to write this. And if you notice, I changed the strumming. I changed chords, but really, I'm strumming that C4 the whole time. This is just an upstroke at the end, and the rest are downstrokes. So it was really quick to write that unique part, and I was blown away at how easy that was the other night. If you're not familiar, definitely check it out. SampleTank 4 CS, like I said, you can load up. You don't need a guitar. You can have. I like to use it on the harp, on the piano. Anything with strings sounds really good. You can get some unique stuff with other sounds like organs and maybe more woodwinds, brassy stuff. But no, I think this is like one of the coolest features. Definitely check it out. You can lock this here so you can switch instruments and keep the same strumming pattern. That's how I ended up at the red Strat. I did actually pick a harp at the beginning. And if you notice, I do have another section here, pattern set. I didn't mention that because I don't use that here. But these patterns are directly related to what's listed in this section. And you can assign any pattern to a key. There's a bunch of different stuff to use. You can see I have a couple in here, country riffs, blues riffs, arpeggios. And these will just be the pattern loaded to this key. And you can switch patterns and chords, nice and easy. As you write these, you can do downstrokes, upstrokes, down from the middle, first, second, third. These are all the string combinations, and then you have a custom. And the custom option is really cool. You just enter a note, and it'll allow you to play that in this little pattern. If you're not familiar with direction, this is going to be for the up is going to be set to C0 up. C sharp will be the upstroke down. So you can assign these differently if you'd like. I didn't define them for this. I didn't use the direction too much. You can also use a manual control. We go over all of these things in the user manual really in depth. So read through and see about all these different settings. You can see there's a lot of control. It's hard to go over all of it at once, but this is a unique tool. Definitely going to get you guys started. If you don't know much about music theory, it'll blow you away. So on top of that, we have an arpeggiator. And this arpeggiator is pretty cool. I've kept to a very simple, basic beat. It's very in the background. I'm going to play it back for you guys. You probably don't hear it too much during the track, but it bounces to the 7th, and it bounces to the 3rd, and these are going to be our velocities. You can click these out, make them shorter, longer, higher velocity, lower velocity, or actually enable a chord for each one. There's a bunch of presets when you get started. So if you're not familiar with writing these, you can pick something quick, latch it, play a couple keys, you're good to go. You can change the order up, down, random. Personally, if you've never messed with an arpeggiator, select as played and you'll have some really cool, unique sounds quickly. The pattern length is actually able to be assigned to automation. So in this track, listen to the arpeggiator and how the length of the notes change. It's going to be a little lower in volume, so you might need to crank it up a little bit to hear it, but it's a really cool sound, and I think it gives a lot of space to the mix. It would help if I soloed the actual audio track. Here we go. So you heard it there. It almost disappeared for a second into the back of the mix, and I wanted that to happen. It kind of, I don't want it to overload everything, and it does have some high-end frequencies that I don't want to interfere with my piano and my guitar. If you liked the fact that there was a little bit of reverb on there, that was actually T-Rex Sunset Sound, and that's one of my go-to reverbs at this point, because you could pick from different quick little studios to huge chambers. Show you guys that interface, and this is just what it's going through. As it gets farther away, I like to put the wet up, and as it gets closer, I like to put the dry up, and I kind of automate that throughout the track, kind of give it a little bit more space, realism. If you're not familiar with this plugin, the high frequency and low frequency roll off is a secret weapon to making sure that you don't muddy up your mixes with a bunch of reverb. I like to suck out a lot of the highs to make sure my definition isn't ruined in, say, a vocal or something that relies on those high frequencies, like a piano, even sometimes guitar, acoustic guitar. But yeah, super quick plugin. That's what's going on top of that. And let's go ahead and check the last section here. And you can see you can load your parts here. This is actually just going to be some white noise. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing to control that. You saw this a little bit earlier on, the different automations that I've used. All of these parameters are assigned inside of SampleTank. I'm going to show you how to do that. I've assigned my delays to kind of ring out at the end here. And you can see that. In all of these, I've got there's my length for my arpeggio. So you can manage all of your arpeggiations or all of your automation stuff here. The red dot just means something's assigned. That's something in Ableton specific. But check this out. So I'm going to assign something really quick just to show you guys. So if I wanted to say, let's grab a macro control. Right, I've disabled all my effects, so these macros might not work the same as they were assigned to. But say you wanted to grab this guy, and you wanted to assign it to automation. You simply click automate and you're good to go. In some DAWs, you need to use an Ableton configure and then click that knob one more time for it to appear. But it's as quick and easy as just right click, automation assignment, you're good. There's Midi Learn, it works the same way. Just send MIDI on the proper channel. You're gonna see all of your different channels in this main play page right here. Remember that directly correlates to this MIDI channel here where you're sending your track in your DAW. Lastly, sorry, I see a good question here. Let me see if I can answer that. So the SampleTank plugin is going to be the basis of my sound, and then I've sent the tracks into these different audio tracks. And I'm going to show you that routing. I've used this mixer here, and you can see I've used the different outputs. 15, 16 for the white noise, 13, 14 for this guy right here, the my arpeggiator. And then I've routed that here. And you can see the input is going to be the SampleTank 4 brain, as I was mentioning earlier, which is how we set, this is MIDI output to the brain, and MIDI channel. This is actually going to be the audio input from the brain, and then the audio track that it's coming in from. So all of my effects from T-Rax and Amplitude are going to be post. So I've actually turned off everything on the Strat so I can apply Amplitude afterwards and give it a little bit more of a little bit more attention, a little bit extra control. So you can see all of my different outputs here. And one really cool thing, if you're not familiar with the routing in SampleTank, is that you already have some sends. And I'm using these for my reverb on 1 and my delay on 2. And if you scroll over here, you're going to see those. And you can open up the control panel for each effect, just clicking that nice little arrow button. So here you can see I've just got a tape echo, reverb, and these are the parameters I was assigning before to the automation. I'm going to show you how that sounds. The reverb is a little bit low, and I am just playing reverb and delay, so it's not going to sound too amazing, but I want you guys to hear how I automated the end of this track. Sorry about that. One second. Okay. All right, so I'm going to play that back from here, and you're just going to hear my reverb and delay from the second half of the track. Sounds a little bit dissonant in the background because this tape echo and the way that the life of the tape gives it. It's very subtle and in the background. It gives a little bit of an eerie mix for me. You saw at the end here, it does pick up, and that's because I've kind of routed the automation parameters for my feedback and my level controls for that delay, which is really cool. It's a really unique tool to give yourself some washy sounds or just experiment with different ways of, they call it playing the effects. All right, so I've gone over a lot of stuff here, and if you're just tuning in, we're about to give away a copy of SampleTank 4 to a lucky winner. That's $299 value just for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you don't win this week, we're going to be doing another giveaway next week. And we do live streams every day at 4 p.m. Tune in Tuesdays and Wednesdays on YouTube, and Instagram live for all the other days of the week. We also do some impromptu sessions, so stay tuned for all of those for your chance to win hardware, software, anything IK. But all right, so this week we're going to be giving away SampleTank 4, like I just said, and I'm going to wait for my mod here. And once my moderator gives me the okay, I'm going to shoot a question over, and I want you guys to answer it in the chat. Wait until I finish the question, and we're going to have Peter randomly pick a winner. The winner must give us their IK username, so if you don't have an account, create one now. We'll give you guys a couple of minutes. Once you have the account, we're going to go ahead and you're going to get your chance to win SampleTank 4. All right. So it looks like my mod gave me the okay. So if you're still making your account, I'll give you a couple of seconds here. I see a bunch of different stuff popping up in the chat. Thank you guys for joining us this week. If you didn't like or subscribe just yet, make sure to do so. And if we miss any of your questions, shoot a comment into the video itself. If you guys have any ideas for streams for next week or the week after, let us know. What do you guys want to see? What do you want to learn? This is for you guys. We want to show our appreciation by doing so. All right, so the question for the giveaway. What would you guys want to see for the next week's episode of Tech Talk? This can be any topic for hardware, software, iOS, Android. Let me know what topic you guys want to see, and we're going to pick somebody random from the chat to win SampleTank 4. Again, that's a $299 value just for watching this quick video. And remember, if you guys don't win today, we have a bunch of promotions going on. I'm going to use this time just to kind of let you guys know what's up. In the description, we do have a bunch of links to these to read more. We have the all-in on analog, which is going to be a 60% off on analog model titles like Amplitude Max, T-Rex Max, Hammond B3X, Syntronic, and more. Check it out. A bunch of great titles there. We've extended our Total Studio Spectacular, which is 75% off Total Studio 2 Max. That's until May 18th, so jump in now. That's an amazing bundle with insane savings. I don't know how long, or May 18th is how long it's going to last, so jump in. We also have Studio Stimulus, so if you're looking for something for your studio, you got 23% off Axe.io, Micromonitor MTM. If you want to take your mixes to the next level, I suggest the MTMs. I have them here. They sound great. They correct my room in specific, which I'm on a balcony, so I have some really weird reflections that it helps with. Keeps me going. I use them with my KRK Rocket 5s, and they're a perfect main pair. We also extended the Uno Double Up promotion. So if you buy an Uno synth or an Uno drum, you get Syntronic for free upon registration. And if you register both, you get Syntronic Deluxe. Max your Axe, buy Axe.io or Axe.io Solo and get Amplitude Max for free. And we've also extended free shipping for orders over $199. Hardware, boxed software orders as well. So make sure to jump on the site, check them all out. I'm seeing a bunch of great answers here. Sorry, I'm a little bit delayed here. Okay, Motobase, we actually do have a video on that already. But if you guys want to see something specific, that'd be great. Compare all the limiters, like Stealth. Ooh, okay. Those are great. Brick Wall. Personally, I love the Stealth. It's a little more heavy than our other plugins, but it sounds so great. It's well worth it. Oh, and if you're just tuning in now, we do this every week at 4 p.m. So definitely stay tuned for next week for your chance to win. I see using live performance. Oh, awesome. Looks like we have a winner. Congratulations, Yuki Bahari. Sorry if I said that wrong, but congratulations. You just won yourself a copy of SampleTank 4. Make sure to shoot your username into the chat here. We're going to hook you up, get you started with a great plugin, great program. It's going to help you get started with all your different productions. Definitely rewatch this video, go through all the tips while you're checking it out. MIDI controller setup and tip. All right, that's a good topic. I'm just scrolling through here, going over them. Congratulations again, Yuki. You can pick somebody. You can gift it to a friend. Just give us their username, or if you wanted to give it to somebody in the chat, just shoot us over their name. That's very generous. Well, that's awesome. I hope you guys are all staying safe and healthy and sane during these crazy times right now. When we do these giveaways, we don't allow substitutions, but we can hook a friend up if that's how you choose. Yep, we're going to be waiting for Yuki to tell us the username. And then once we get that, we're going to hook you up, and you'll get started with SampleTank 4. If you're just tuning in now, take a look at the rest of the video. We went over how to use the Strummer, the Arpeggiator, how to route MIDI in and out of SampleTank 4, how to route audio in and out in SampleTank 4. Really easy to just compose some really unique performances from scratch. Ooh, okay. So it looks like Yuki would like us to re-choose. So let's go ahead, and if you guys haven't shot your answer in, go ahead and shoot it in. Let us know what you guys want to see in the next episode of Tech Talks or in the next coming weeks. All right, so yeah, let's see who's going to win here. Shoot us over any of your other topics that you're interested in. And it looks like our moderator has picked Tim Spin. One second, guys. Yep. All right. Congrats, Tim Spin. You've won SampleTank 4. We're going to hook up your username. Just shoot it over in the chat if you have not done so already. Definitely want to get into some hardware stuff like Axe.io. I see a lot of people asking about Motobase. We did an episode on that already. If you want to check it out, shoot a comment in that video for anything specific you want to see, and we can do a more in-depth masterclass. We also did a video on Amplitude and on the custom shop trial options. So if you're familiar with any IK stuff, definitely check it out. All right. Very happy to hear that you're excited to get started with your new production tool. Shoot us any questions you have, and anybody who didn't win, remember, check out the links in the description. We have a bunch of great promotions going on. Make sure to like and subscribe. Next week, we're going to be doing another giveaway, which will be really cool. Give you guys another chance to win. And we did also do an episode on Uno Synth and Uno Drum. Or, sorry, just Uno Synth. Definitely check it out. It's going to go over how to use the editor, how it's not just an analog synthesizer. It's also a MIDI controller, and it has this awesome plugin to be used with it. But thank you guys all for tuning in. We're going to wrap up here. And you guys just make sure to stay tuned for our live streams every Tuesday, Wednesday at 4 p.m. on YouTube Live, Instagram Live every other day at 4 p.m. Make sure to like and subscribe. If we missed your question, make sure to post your comment and we'll get back to you. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.